Hi guys, and welcome back to Nerdess Miniatures. Today we have actually reached a pretty cool milestone. We have hit 25 subscribers here on YouTube. I'm super stoked about that. I cannot thank you guys enough for following along in our miniature painting journey. This has been quite the experience, and I don't think I can see myself ever stopping. This has been so much fun. But today we are working on a Vengeance Paladin from DM Stash, and he is back there being a goofy ass weirdo and distracting me. But yeah, so we're gonna do a Vengeance Paladin. This is her. She's got OSL, she's got gold, she's got purple, and she's got badass written all over her face. So why don't we get started? So we're just going to start off with a nice black prime. Now this looks pretty messy here to start, and the reason is because I decided to base coat all of the armor in this brownish orange color you see here, but then my airbrush arrived, and so I decided I was going to give it a try, and I airbrushed the cloak in this really pretty purple color, but because I didn't have a whole lot of experience, I had a whole lot of overspray. So I'm just going back in with that same brownish orange color and retouching up all of the armor pieces for my base. And now I'm just gonna take equal parts King Purple and Wine Red and dry brush them on all the raised areas of the cloak, just to give us a really nice, even rise and fall in the colors. So it's nice highlights and lowlights in the cape. Now I'm going to paint all of the armor pieces this greedy gold color. Now in this video, it's really hard to tell the true color of it because I didn't realize it when I was recording, but my light was off. I was using the wrong shade on my light source, so it comes out looking this really orangey, kind of odd gold look that I didn't really like, and later I figured it out and you'll see that the video changes, but here we just kind of have to run with it until my brain catches up with what's actually happening. Okay, I really don't know why I went in with this orange tone. I really hated the way it turned out, and I eventually had to go back and try to fix it. But yeah, I went in and put this orange tone everywhere, and I really hate it. But we're just gonna run with it, because once I commit to something, I just keep going. And here we're going to transition to bright gold. I use this for all of the highlights on the gold armor, and then also on the cloak. I did this kind of embroidery woven with gold kind of details on the fabric of the cloak that I thought turned out really cool. It's actually one of my favorite parts of this whole thing, aside from the way the sword and the OSL turns out. Now I'm going to take tourmaline skin, ruby skin, and leopard stone skin to make her face. I started off with tourmaline skin because it's my darkest shade. It's going to create some of those shadows and lowlights in her face. Then I went in with ruby skin to add a little bit more warmth to her skin and some depth and highlights. And then leopard stone skin is my final highlight on her cheeks, the top of her nose, a little bit on her forehead, and so forth. Holy shit, look at that color difference. It finally dawned on me that the temperature of my light was wrong, and we finally got it fixed, and now look, it looks so much better. But here, I'm just adding Agrex Earthshade to all of the gold details, just to kind of muddy it up, make it look a little darker and worn and used. And here we are again with some more bright gold highlights. We're just dry brushing this on, hitting all of the raised areas, and trying to bring a little bit more brightness back into the gold armor because it seemed to get a little bit too dingy for my liking. And now I'm going to go in and do some shining silver edge highlighting. Originally, my thought was to bring a little bit more life to the edges, kind of brighten things up a little bit more, but what wound up happening is it wound up looking more like this was gold-plated armor, and it's been worn and it's been used, and some of the plating has rubbed off to show the silver underneath, which I think kind of turned out pretty cool. And now it's time for the coolest part of this whole thing. I'm going to go in with white, fluorescent blue, and sky blue on the sword. We're going to base coat the whole sword back in white because we had a lot of overspray from the purple cape. So here I am just going in and cleaning up all of that and giving it a nice bright white to set up for the OSL. So now I take sky blue and I hit all of the runic looking places, the circles on the sword, everything that's lower down and sunken in on the blade, so that we can start the OSL kind of effect, the glowing effect that will later lead to the OSL. A lot of this sword I did with some trial and error. There were some things that I was like, I think this is going to look cool, and then I realized this doesn't look very cool. So there are things that get changed throughout this process, so just bear with me as I figure my shit out. Here I'm just taking the fluorescent blue and edge highlighting and then going back in with the white and trying to brighten up those lower areas and those runic areas so that they kind of pop more and glow more. And then we're just going to edge highlight again to try and make those look a lot brighter with a darker color around them. I had originally thought that I was going to make the sword silver, and as you can see, I am painting over it with the blue again because I just did not like the way the silver turned out. So here we're just going in with that really light blue color on top of the darker blue color and just trying to really sell that glowing from the inside effect. I took that fluorescent blue on the edges to kind of make it look like the edges of the sword were cooling off and were a different temperature than the inside of the sword. Kind of like metal that has just been pulled out of a forge. So off camera, I took the fluorescent blue and I started all of our OSL effects, all of our bounce light from the sword onto her cape and her greaves, onto the top of the sword, onto her shoes, and everywhere. Later, I wind up putting it on the base where the lightning meets it, because it took me a little bit to decide to put the lightning. But then I had to go in and redo the effects on the sword that I had previously done, because I had a lot of overspray, because again, I'm pretty new to the airbrushing thing, and so I kind of make a little bit of a mess. But here we are, just brightening up all of the runes again and all of the lowered edges so that we get that nice glowing effect. And now for a wash, I'm taking the dark blue tone and going over all of the areas that are farther away from our light source to try and darken them up a little bit while still retaining a little bit of that light effect so that we have the light scatter the way natural light does. I'm going in under all of the areas that would have natural shadows and all of the areas that are farther away from our light source to try and create that nice OSL effect. So for her hair, I just took varying mixes of ochre brown and warped yellow to create this blonde effect. I started with a darker shade of the two mixes and then built it up into just pure warped yellow for the highlights. Eventually I come in with skin tone and add this wash to all of the hair just to give it a little bit more depth of color and some lowlights, and then that will be all she wrote for the hair. And now here I'm starting on the tome. I started with leather brown on all the binding parts and then pure white on all of the pages. I went in and washed with the same tone that I used on the hair to give the pages the look of being old and used and kind of coffee stained, and then just took black and started writing scribbles on the pages. I wound up accidentally smudging it and I ran with it. I just kind of kept up with the smudged look and made it look like it's been used and maybe something spilled on it, more coffee stain look, and I think it turned out pretty cool. And now let's bring on the lightning. Here I am, I just drilled in a little bit of a hole for the book and then took bent up paper clips and kind of put them together to look like the lightning was arcing from the blade to the ground and from the ground to the book. And then we just took matte white and painted over all of the lightning as a good base coat. Here in a second, I'm gonna take sky blue and start going in on all the lightning as well, to try and match that same color from the sword and that same glowing effect that we got earlier. So after this part, I just airbrushed the base and the back of the book and a little bit of the front of the robes off camera to match that same OSL to give the lightning its kind of lighting her up look. Alright, so before we take a look at how she turned out, I just want to thank everybody for making it this far into the video and sticking with us. We got some pretty cool news. It's summertime. I'm lucky enough to have a job where I get the summers off, so I am gonna be able to focus all of my time and energy on, of course, family and everything, and then also making more videos. We have tons of new stuff lined up that's gonna be really, really cool, and I can't wait to share it with you guys. But that'll have to wait until next time. So without further ado, let's take a look at the Vengeance Paladin.